Hello, and welcome to the future of sports highlights. I'd like to firstly introduce you to the team. We've got Daniel Shichman, we've got Peter Scott, and we've got Scott Gutterman. And if we could please kick off with a brief introduction, starting with you, Daniel.
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm one of the co-founders of WSC Sports. We're an Israeli-based company with offices in Tel Aviv, New York, and Sydney. And we created an AI platform that automatically and in real time generates customized sports videos for every platform and every fan experience. Our aim is to help sports media right owners such as leagues, federations, broadcasters, teams to use their content in a smarter way, provide better experience for their fans, and monetize the content. So we work with more than 120 sports media right owners globally. Among them, we are really fortunate to have some amazing clients, obviously, such as the PGA and WarnerMedia here with us, and also the NBA, the NHL, Bundesliga, Discovery, and many others. So that's in a nutshell.
Perfect, thank you. And Peter? We can't hear you, Peter. Have you muted yourself?
Oh, sorry about that, everybody. My name is Peter Scott, and I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I help manage innovation emerging media for WarnerMedia. I work with our brand CNN, TNT, NBA, and sort of looking for new platforms, new businesses that can make us stay relevant to the ever-changing media consumer.
Wonderful stuff. And last but no means least, over to Scott.
Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Gutterman. I work with the PGA Tour. I oversee all of the tour's fan-facing digital platforms and broadcast technology. So anything that has to do with reaching out to the fan and putting our players and our events in front of people that want to watch.
Wonderful. And I'm Melisa Payne. I have 25 years experience in the sporting eventing world. Whether your sporting talent's got 2 legs or 4 legs, I've covered it. So let's kick off. Sorry, without stating the obvious, COVID comes along and sports stop. Suddenly everyone's dusting down their archive content because it's the only content we've got to use. So what did you guys do in terms of creativity and recreating your content to keep the fans engaged?
Sure, I'll go ahead and start out. So for the PGA Tour, we have a couple of great partners in NBC Sports and GolfTV. Domestically, it's NBC Sports, which is our OTT product, PGA Tour Live on NBC Sports Gold, and with GolfTV, they serve our international rights around the world. And really, once kind of everything stopped, for us, they stopped literally on the day of the first round of the Players' Championship. And so we quickly had to pivot and figure out how are we going to entertain our fans. So it really began with, okay, what do we do to make PGA Tour Live and the archive that we have there and GolfTV archive there available to all of our fans. Here in the States, we made PGA Tour Live free for everyone, and we began to unload all of our archive over the years. And on top of that, what we started to do was create new content here that could go into PGA Tour Live and to other platforms that would essentially allow our players to come in and do commentary over past rounds. So we had Brandt Snedeker talking about his round from 2019 against Tiger Woods at the Dell Match Play Championship, which was really exciting. That became what we call the Rewatchables every week, both on digital and then eventually made its way to linear TV. So it was really about quickly pivoting and generating all kinds of new content. In that particular case, we're using a great tool from a company called Kizwi. We've used tools like vMix and OBS and others to do similar content, but be able to get content from our partners. And then working with Daniel's team, we are longtime users of WSC. So we began to put out all kinds of compilations of different highlights and different shots. So it could be the top 10 water shots, top 10 longest putts, all kinds of interesting shots, player reactions. And really with the WSC tools, we were really able to go in and just automatically generate all of that content out. And so that became part of the drumbeat of content that we put out every single week during our downtime, which I believe lasted about 10 to 12 weeks.
Yeah, Melissa, I would say for us, WarnerMedia side, and our partners being, the NBA, Major League Baseball. The key is that COVID. I would say the COVID positive is it's forced all this innovation that otherwise was maybe stagnant in a lot of our different companies. So I'd say COVID basically made us all think differently. Made us all think about what content do we have that we can enable. And I think, we've been long partners with WSC. That the ability to go back into those archives and figure out ways that you can create new products, like Scott said for PGA. What could we do to sort of make that interesting to fans? I would say that one of the keys that we're exploring with WSC is it's become the ability for us to learn more about our consumer. So really, the more content we put out, we learn more that that particular consumer may like that franchise or that player or that team. So they're allowing us, in essence, to collect first-party data about our users, because the amount of content that we can create with their platform allows us to be more targeted in the content we create, and more importantly, the content we push it to.
And just to echo what Scott and Pete just said, so I think March till June was definitely a very challenging time for the sports industry. Obviously, no live games, but the leagues and broadcasters still had to create content to engage fans and also avoid liabilities with their sponsors, partners that paid a lot of money to be associated with that content. So there was a lot of focus on a few types of content. So obviously, like you said, Melissa, archive was king. Creating interesting stories and finding an ongoing way of creating that, because when you plan the content, you don't know for how long it's going to be that way. So you need to do it in a consistent way. And we work closely with our clients to build that strategy. And in addition to that, we saw a lot of, I think, new interactive and engaging types of content that we saw less before COVID. So a lot of increase in involvement of players and athletes, like whether it's letting them do commentary or reacting to plays, letting the athletes be involved in esports competition, and also creating more interactive experiences like voting on specific plays. So I think COVID really made everyone think creatively, because a lot of programming hours were just shut down and didn't exist, and you need to find ways to fill them with really exciting content. So it was an interesting challenge.
So thinking outside the box.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you push the content to the fans directly, or did you push the content to the rights holders and they push the content out to the fans?
So specifically of our platform, end of the day, we're a technology company. We build a platform, and then here it's WarnerMedia, PGA, and every media company has their own strategy, and they're building their own strategy, their own content, and they know how to cater their fans in the best way. So we're happy just to help them.
Yeah, the question was probably better suited for Peter, actually.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think old is cool now. Like you can go back in time. What Michael Jordan's Last Dance proved to all of us. I mean, it is Michael Jordan, but sort of going back in time and storytelling about any compelling thing that happened in the past is really, really interesting. And I think there are a lot of young generation that didn't know really who Michael Jordan was in the context of his, popularity and greatness in the NBA. And I think for us, seeing what ESPN did, seeing how it lifted all boats, I think it's allowed us to sort of explore these initiatives. And again, I'm going to compliment Daniel. I mean, his team has proactively sort of looked at us to see how they can help us solve those liabilities, those situations, and making archives kind of interesting and cool again in a lot of different ways. So yeah, for us, we use their platform. We're able to basically target the content, push it to all the different touch points where they are, whether it's on web, on mobile, and in some cases set-top boxes.
Yeah, the archive.
And it's the same thing
during that period.
And it was the same thing for us. Like some of the content we dipped into were, events that were in the 80s and the 70s that we brought forward onto our PGA Tour Live platforms, and also same thing with the highlight clips as well too. So that was a big part of what our efforts were. And to your question, the point that what we did is we basically look at it as we were posting content to our digital platforms, we were posting content to our OTT platforms. And then we also work as kind of a hub for content for all of our players. So we use a tool called Open Doors that then allows we send content to our players that enables our players to then retweet or reshare whatever they want to do with that content out to their own platform. So we're very much a content distribution hub, and that's a big part of what the WSC team helps us with is how do we mine really the years and years of archives that we have and get that out to all of those distribution points across the fan engagement.
Well, I mean, as you just said, I mean, archive is suddenly sexy. Everybody wants this material. So is the key now to just keep, regurgitating, using more and more archive in going forward post-COVID world?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of what I said earlier. I think you have to use that video to basically find out more attributions about your consumer. So again, Daniel and the WSC team makes it really easy for us to kind of allow publishers like Scott and I to go basically create the content. But I really, really encourage this for everybody is use video as a tact for you to build attributes about your consumer who is clicking on that video. Where are they clicking on that video? How many times are they clicking on that video? What is the content that they keep clicking on? So you can build that first party data around that consumer so you can be smarter as you go back into your archives, what's more popular and what's not, and what trends that you're seeing that people want to engage with. I think it's sort of it's a complement, right? You don't want to just run into your archives and just start cutting everything. You want to be strategic in how you do that. And I think if you have a feedback loop and you're able to curate those attributes as people are clicking on that content, it just becomes such a powerful resource for us. And I think for other people that are using the WSC platform.
Yeah, what about the international rights holders? I'm sorry, Scott. What about the international rights holders? Do they get to access all of the content and then produce their own bespoke content with the PGA?
Yeah, so for us, the international rights holders and our partners at GolfTV were able to, we really delivered a whole different set of content to them. We were really focused on kind of what Pete was talking about is like, they want to see Sergio Garcia content. They want to see Seve Ballesteros content. They want to see content of, that's related to the players that they're familiar with in those regions. So, and that even, that's going back maybe for older content, but then you have new and up and coming players that are a big part of it. So Victor Hovland is a new young player on our tour that's doing really well. He's from Norway, so we have very popular viewership there from Norway. So really what we focus on with the GolfTV team there is delivering them the content that they thought was best for every region that they were in. And so that was part of this feedback loop that Pete mentioned, which is like, okay, what do people want to watch and what are they going to respond to? So it was very important for us to kind of customize it by region. We didn't want to just basically turn on the fire hose of all the archive and unload it because it just probably wouldn't have made sense to do that.
Fine. Daniel?
Yeah, no, and I think post-COVID, like you said, it's not only that archive became part of the use. I think that in terms of the effect of the sports industry, it had a huge effect. Organization lost a lot of money, and it means that some of them had to cut personnel and do more with less. And this organization has like two things they need to deal with, and obviously these guys know it better than me. One is they need to find new revenue stream to compensate for the losses they have, and second, they have a lot of operational challenges they need to do right now, right? Sport is back. They need to show as everything is normal, but in fact, not everything is normal. So that they need to make sure to see how they cope with work remotely, how they do with all the travel that is limited, all the operational side. So that's on one thing. And besides that, they also we see that sports organizations now post-COVID are much more open to innovation, to trying new ideas, to trying new products. And if in the past, the process was a bit slower because they had their own business to run and everything was running smoothly. So now we're seeing that much more open to innovation. And as Pete is just mentioning, starting to think like technology companies, starting to see how to gather data, how to learn the users, how to cater personalized experience. And I think that on that end, the pandemic actually will just make everything run 4 or 5 years faster than it should have otherwise.
Yeah, so now we've returned to obviously live sport. It's all a very new environment, but this content is going to run parallel, isn't it, to the live content and what you're finding, all the data that you're finding from all the viewers. We're not just seeing a linear show anymore. There's so much more behind.
Yeah, and again,
Right.
sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
No. So right for us, Daniel hit on it. We are now wanting to do more, but we have fewer resources to do it. So like with Daniel and team, automating all of our highlight clips that go out are completely automated. We used to have 3 to 5 people that would sit and do that all day, every day, but that really became an impossible task for us. The more that we saw fans wanted content, and the more personalized content that we needed to put out. So remote productions, all that's been done from home now. As we returned, it just is kind of let us continue to work from home, not have to worry about clipping our highlights, but then focus on how do we develop new types of content using the video that's coming from both the live productions as well as the archive productions, and really beginning to move into a world where our team is going to be focused on personalizing what the fans want to see based on what they consume, based on their behaviors around our digital platforms and what we know about them, both either directly through logins or anonymously, and be able to say, okay, this person's a Sergio Garcia fan. We want to make sure that they're seeing content from Sergio on a regular basis. So those are the things that we are beginning to embark on now with the use of the WSC tools.
And Melissa, I think the other part of it is that we're looking into not only collecting data and building attribution models, but what are the other revenue opportunities? So merchandise, right? So if you bring back old players, can you bring back old jerseys? Can you bring back, old sneakers, old styles, as that's starting to sort of take a trend again, right? For us, it's maybe a little easier on the NBA and working with Major League Baseball to kind of think of those ideas. Again, we can sort of, maybe the theme today is old is cool, and how do we basically monetize that as much as we can to maybe rebrand or bring back sort of legends or ideas around those legends that maybe some people thought was dormant. Because again, you're re-exposing sort of these icons in our sports and the teams and the affiliations with those teams that maybe just some people haven't sort of thought about. So that's another sort of revenue source for us that we're exploring on the merchandise side, to sort of get those two pieces married together.
I read the other day that Tiger Woods sold a club that he never played with. You would know more about that. That went for quite a few dollars. An unused club.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So everyone talks about AI nowadays and ML. Can you share a few interesting examples then that you've experienced yourself? Scott?
Yeah, so we've done a couple of products. Really, a few years ago, when we started with WSC, it was one of our first steps into AI. Using Daniel's platform and the team's platform to help automate the clipping. Basically, we reduced our team from 5 down to 1, who was a person that was just training the algorithms from the WSC platform to understand how to cut a proper in, a proper out, proper birdie and a proper eagle, and proper shot for the tour. So that was one of our first entries in AI. We've also been working with a company called Narrative Science, who helps us generate stories for every single player that plays in a round. So typically on Thursday, Friday, we have 100, 120, 130 players in a field. We can't write a story about every one of them. So using the Narrative Science platform, we're actually able to generate an automatic story for that player, and so that fans have something to consume at the end of the day. And one of the things we've done is we've combined the output from WSC and the output from Narrative Science, so that any time there's a video about that player and a story that gets automated, that those two go together. And then last is a new product that we've just, it's probably a little closer to our own AI platforms that we've developed, which is called Tour Pulse, which we launched just as our playoffs were getting started a few weeks back. And it's basically a platform that we've built that uses our shot link data. We capture 70 data points about every shot that's hit on the course. And what we do basically is we've created this stream, a player stream for every player that's playing, so you can see exactly what he's done at that point in time or look back on his entire round. And that also combines our ShotLink data as well as the narrative science platform, as well as the WSC platform, so that now we have this kind of automated stream experience that fans can look at, and we've had very good reception to it. So, AI and ML are going to be great platforms for us going forward. I think are going to be very important because, for a sport like ours, where we have such breadth, we have, 12 hours of competition, 4 days a week. We can't cover it all, and people were missing things before we could do that. And so we're pretty excited about the future of what these platforms will mean to us.
And I'll echo that with Scott. I mean, I think with WSC, they were sort of on the cutting edge of auto clipping before really anybody sort of understood how to do that. There were plenty of companies that allowed you to cut highlights in the cloud, but it's all about the AI. So if you're feeding game data or you're giving timestamps along the line, and you're starting to teach the software what is sort of easy to see or what's most popular, I think for us, we're exploring that across multiple sort of platforms, right? And then maybe there's ways that we can be more addressable on the ads that are associated with that. So not only can we make customized and hyper-personalized content with an AI engine, but how do we do the match with the appropriate ad? So we don't want to serve someone an ad that's not relevant. We want to serve an ad that is extremely relevant to that person so that we get better results on the click-through rates, et cetera, et cetera. So we're playing together with both sort of understanding the content and what the content provides us, and then matching that with targeted advertising and addressable advertising.
Well, I totally agree, and I think that in the end of the day, AI is just a means to an end. In the end of the day, I think that the end goal of every entity that is trying to sell you something is to provide you with the best personalized experience. It means reach to the relevant users with the relevant pitch at the relevant time, with the right pricing, and I think this combination can only be achieved if you really know your fans and you know your users. And the way to really know them is to collect data, analyze the behavior, and build the right modules that will enable you to provide that service all along the way. And like Scott and Pete mentioned, it can be through videos, it can be through text, it can be through merchandise that you sell, it can be through the right betting prop, or it can be by the right ad. So in the end of the day, even if it's not the case today, I'm confident that AI will be at the core of every leading solution in each vertical in the sports industry. It just can't be otherwise.
Yeah, and you're not missing anybody out. So the traditional fan that just wants to sit there and watch a world feed, they're fine. They've still got their world feed, but you're also capturing the people and giving them their bespoke content that just want to watch, Garcia and etc. So you're not missing anybody out. It's all encompassing.
Exactly.
So you just mentioned there about betting. Obviously, sport betting is huge and growing fast in the US, and technology plays a huge part there. So what does the betting future hold in your particular market?
I mean, for us, like Scott, we're exploring it and doing a lot of testing. We've done 2 exercises, NBA BetStream during the playoffs, where we just brought in experts. So we created another version of the live stream, and we're able to basically create a betting version. So you could sit along and watch the game, but it was from betting sort of insight. So we're exploring more and more, our ability to basically go into this world. I think what will be super, super interesting with our friends at WSC is the ability to create hyper-personalized contextual bets. So when a particular action happens, a goal is scored, an over-under is changed out of a first quarter, can we use the WSC platform to drive action to a designated fan base? Can we do a push alert with their video to potentially drive a new bet or a new opportunity? So I think we're all exploring it in the States. It's a slow process, but I think we're blessed to have the content and be partners with content providers to explore all of these different options in sports betting in the States.
Yeah, and it's sports betting's just really picked up momentum for us. I think if people have been watching, we announced 4 official betting operator relationships here in the last few weeks. So we're really beginning to move into that space. And similarly, like Pete laid it out exactly right, we're exploring what it means for us. And now we're exploring with these official betting operators. We have been working with the Action Network on a property called GolfBet that's been out for almost a year now, which has been a big part of one of our first steps. And then we have another relationship with DraftKings as well. That's been a big part of what we've been doing as part of this experiment. Largely, it's been focused on helping create content and seeing how content will work. And to Pete's point, similarly with WSC, we're kind of all working on this model that will allow people that are directly into sports betting be able to get content that's relevant to what they're doing, and exactly the way that Pete laid out. So there's going to be some exciting developments that we're working on over the next 3 or 4 weeks, or 3 or 4 months that we should begin to see at the beginning of the year, which will be even bigger steps for us into this space.
I think the betting market is obviously just starting, and it's very interesting. And right now, I think it concentrates on 3 main things. The first one is just running, and getting licenses to operate in each and every state, and that's on the legal side of things. The second is user acquisition, and the third is user retention and engagement. And we need to understand the user acquisition prices are just crazy, and we haven't seen anything like that. And if you're a betting operator, you want to bring a user on board, they're paying a lot of money. They're partnering with media companies. It's just a crazy race to get that user acquisition. And then the company or the operator that will be smart and would know how to target the right users and how to acquire them might win it all in this segment. Then the second thing on the user retention, after you have the user, you need to make sure that the user bets more on the average price and just keeps engaging with your platform. And I think as video is becoming very popular in every segment, like e-commerce, I'm sure we will see betting operators using video content to increase their user acquisition conversion rate, their user retention, because in the end of the day, video is the most engaging format, and I'm sure it's just going to grow from here.
Perfect. Right, so let's circle back to the future of highlights, because what I'm hearing is there's an abundance of content out there. You're producing lots of ancillary programming. It's all happening here now, and it's immediate. So, is there a need for a traditional highlight show that you have to wait for nowadays?
I think that's a good question. I think everybody's used to getting highlights almost as quickly as they happen. So I think that's going to remain a very valuable thing, whether that happens on their own and operator properties, or it happens on social media platforms, or it happens through a betting platform. But I still think that there's a place both on our digital properties, our streaming properties, for shows that kind of either every 15 minutes or 20 minutes keep you up to date on what's happening. I mean, with golf, we have so much volume of content. So I think that's important, and also to provide context at the end of the day to the whole event. So, I think what we've really been talking about here is that, content's really becoming personalized more and more for different people and how they want to watch it. So I think we're going to continue to produce a wide variety of types of content, whether it's highlight shows or individual clips. And fans are just going to or have already begun to consume that the way that they want it. So you're just essentially going to be addressing these different audiences that like to consume the content the ways they want to. So it's going to be really important for us to have tools like WSC a part of that, because the diversification of content consumption only means that we have to be ready and to move to whatever's new as quickly as possible, and be able to deal with that diversification. And that, frankly, just cannot be done by hiring more and more people. So it's going to be important to have those types of tools in place and those types of practices.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, listen, we're all trying to figure out the diversified sports fan. And it can be a guy who wants to sit down for 3 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours for a golf match over a period of a Sunday and watch the whole thing. But we know there's other different populations in that fandom that wants to see the content in a different way. So we have to explore that, and we have to figure out ways where does personalized super highlights and the value exchange that we're giving that sports fan going to be in a variety of different ways. And again, WSC allows us to sort of look at that and to see what's valuable and how we can leverage that to sort of keep our revenue models the same. Because what's difficult is if you go to a highlight world, it's a lot harder for us to monetize because it's a shorter period of time that you have the impression to be made. So we're exploring all that, and I think it's just smart for any publisher out there that's watching this is to leverage that value exchange, but understand the value exchange may be different for certain subsets of the fandom.
Correct. Brilliant. Any more, Daniel? Do you want to add anything further?
No, I think just more. I think it was PwC that just published a few days ago that short form highlights will be the most important type of media in
Yeah.
sports in the next years. So I think it just speaks for itself.
Brilliant. Well, this has been fantastic.